Greetings, everybody. This is Donna Miller, along with sleeping leader dog Carmen. We'd like to welcome you to another edition of Info Talk. And Carmen's happy today because there's other people in the studio besides me. I learned a few weeks ago about a service, Matthew Ministries. And Sonja Camden is president and co-founder. And she worked with me a few years ago at DBS and didn't know me till she walked in as I was getting ready to do the show this morning, and she was surprised. But she's director of the of Matthew Ministries, and also in the studio we have Dr. Dorothy Jonaitis, and she's also in the ministries. She has a Ministries International. Now, she's tell you about that, but she works along with Sonja. So, ladies, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Donna. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, we're glad to have you this morning. And I wanted to welcome you to our show. Would you please, Sonja, let's start with you since you're co-founder of Matthew Ministries. And let's maybe tell us a little bit about what it is. I have a feeling a lot of people have not heard about it, but it's great.
Well, thank you, Donna. Yes, Matthew Ministries is relatively new. We formed the ministry back September 8th, 2010. And as of this year, in April of this year, we also offered a position of Director of Ministries to Dr. Dorothy Jonaitis. And she is the co-founder. I guess when you'd say there's a co-founder, there must be two of us, and it happens to be both she and myself.
Founder and co-founder.
Yes, we are co-founders of this ministry together. And the ministry itself is nonprofit. It is focused on women who provide care for those with disabilities, and that is inclusive in terms of all disabilities. And we are reaching out to all communities, regardless of the severity. And that would include our visually impaired and blind community, of which I have a tremendous love and passion for. I service them through the Division for Blind Services, and happen to work with you, Donna.
Yeah. And
you remember?
I remember, and you've been to my house more than once, and I have to admit, when I hung up talking with you, I almost doubled over with laughter. I thought, she doesn't know me. And so I knew that you were going to find out who I was. It would eventually dawn on you. And sure enough, there you are.
Well, the good news is that since I serviced you, I've turned 50. So I have a license to forget. And I think that's what happened when we were on the phone earlier this week. But what a pleasure it was to have an opportunity to meet you again this morning and to see what you're doing here. This is an amazing ministry in and of itself to the blind community.
Well, it is. It's because there's so much, and that's why I call my show Info Talk, because Info Talk lets me be able to talk about anything and everything, and it makes it real good. So I'm welcome you ladies, because I'm sure this is going to be a great thing for people to learn about. And you never know when somebody might need your services. So I think the story, Sonja, you have to tell.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to first say, Donna, that the ministry itself has two components, and one is a journey of faith biblical component, and one is a community service component. And in regards to the journey of faith, I want Dorothy to actually speak to that and share. She is the director of that part of our ministry, and her background is she has a lifelong background in Catholic ministry, and I want her to share what her vision is and what we see Matthew Ministries doing in this regards.
Hello, Donna. How are you?
Oh, I'm fine. How are you? I'm
doing fine. Thank you very much. I was a little surprised when Sonja offered me this position. I do have a background of teaching Bible for 25 years now, and it didn't seem to me like I would fit the idea of serving those with disabilities. But when I heard that it was for the caregiver of those with disabilities, I became very, very interested. I love serving those with disabilities, and I have grown very fond of Matthew, Sonja's son. So with the faith part of the journey, we will be focusing on Bible study, retreats, seminars, and conferences. And those will be to help the caregiver focus on their own life, because there is such an element of burnout for caregivers and an inability to see what they need for their own selves, because they are so often focusing on the one with the disabilities. So our hope is that we would then help the caregiver be motivated in their own experience and know that they are loved as well.
I know I've dealt with a lot of people who've, just been taking care of somebody elderly or somebody who has a disability. It all boils down to the same thing. You're stuck in the house. You can't really go anywhere if the person is bedridden or whatever, and you can't go anywhere. You have to stay there with them. You can't run to the store or run down the street and leave them alone. I've known of people who've done it, but it's not a good thing. And, yeah, there's burnout.
The burnout's significant. I think when we were thinking about an initial teaching topic for our caregivers, being a personal caregiver myself of a son who is 28 years old and who was diagnosed at birth with severe and profound disabilities, I've had the opportunity to see it from that side of personal care as well as professional care. But with that said, the topic that we're going to use is called the Caregiver Conundrum. Answers to the who, what, where, and when, and whose puzzle. And I have to say, who am I as a caregiver? Have I lost myself in that desert? Do I even know who I am? In many cases, mothers become somebody else's mother. When you're introduced, you say, oh, this is Johnny's mother. And you lose even your own name, much less the identity of who you are, what your personal needs are. And you have to ask this question is, how long is this going to go on? That's the conundrum. I love this child. I love my family member with all my heart. But, oh my gosh, God, is this going to go on forever? And so it's a double-edged sword. And oftentimes it's a lifelong journey. The journals say that of a woman's lifespan, 35 years is often spent in caregiving. And especially with our aging population now, we have got aging parents with their family members that are in their 50s now providing care. And so the journey can be intense. It can be long. And we believe, Dorothy and I believe, that we need God involved in that journey. And that's where we get our strength.
And the other aspect of this is there are many professional caregivers, like special education teachers and speech therapists and other nurses and occupational therapists, and they too often serve these people, serve the one with disabilities, because they themselves might have experienced some disability in their family. So, for instance, I have a severe manic depressive mother. She's now deceased. And so I experienced what it meant for my mother to have to suffer through the mental anguish, and if she didn't take her medicine, it was worse than if she did. So that helps me to see what a caregiver, as a professional caregiver, needs to go through.
Well, I guess I'm dealing with that kind of because my mother has been high-minded all of her life. I don't know of any better term to put it. It was either her way or no way. And now, she's in a nursing home. She wants to be out and, at least live in assisted living. But personally, she can't do that. And sometimes, she has these huge meltdowns. and I have to talk her out of them, and I, then have to figure out ways to keep her mind busy for the next round. So it's kind of being a caregiver, I guess, myself for her in a way.
That happens with many younger parents today who need to take care of their elderly parents because of our aging population.
Well, and the thing, too, is she does not live at my house, but it still doesn't mean it's not stressful.
Mm-hmm. Right.
That you're trying to figure out ways where you can make a difference, and there is no difference to make because the person doesn't want the difference to be made.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's sad to think like that, but it is a conundrum. It's a terrible conundrum to be in.
I think something interesting, too, for our parents who have children with disabilities is that there are Medicaid waiver programs here in the state of Texas, and I think they're probably in some form or fashion all across the United States, where we have waiting lists for these programs that can be anywhere from 5 to 10 years for a family, a caregiver, to get any type of assistance, any type of relief, any type of respite care. And that's the design of our Journey of Faith program, is to provide a retreat that maybe if it's just an afternoon or it could be a weekend, where the mother, the caregiver, the grandmother, the professional, the special education teacher, the nurse can get away and go focus on themselves in a holistic way, spirit, soul, and body. And that's, I believe, going to be the focus of our Journey of Faith program. Now, the community service program, Donna, is just that. It's grassroots in its efforts and by design. We have a hospital ministry program where we're going to be reaching out to those mothers identified by the social work departments that have had a child with a disability. Secondly, a food and clothing and rental and utility assistance program. And then a support group called MOMS, Mothers of Miraculous Strength. It'll be strictly focused as a support group. It would be a morning event, like a 9 to 1. And where we have the opportunity for fellowship, the opportunity to have a little breakfast together and to share the Word of God, and to also network our resources. I know as a young mother back in 1983, when I had Matthew in a Houston, Texas hospital, nobody really came into, including social work, came in and shared with me the Harris County supports and resources that were available. So that's the community service piece, and so we're trying to reach out to, in both regards, to the physical needs of people and also their spiritual needs. And
we'll be doing Bible studies on a regular basis, and the first one's going to begin on September 29. It's going to be a morning program, and we will have it from 11 to 2. And the first hour and a half will be dedicated to Bible study. And then there will be fellowship after that, and some food. Everybody needs some food. And then special prayers for those who need special prayers for their families or for themselves for various issues. So we're looking forward to that. And we're planning right now that will be a 6-week series beginning on, I said the 29th, but it's beginning on the 28th, a Wednesday morning, and it will run for 6 consecutive Wednesday mornings. And people can come to any one of them, but it would be advantageous if they can come to all 6.
Might be difficult. I was curious, is those, and this is open to all faiths of people, right?
That's
Absolutely.
Correct.
So if people, want to come and, just be there, I know everybody doesn't necessarily believe the same way, but come and join anyway, because it'll, you give a chance to clear your mind, and I know learn a lot. God is the most important thing to me in the world.